The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on Facebook because it's time for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show with Sue Ellen Sanders.
Welcome to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show, and it's kind of old home week here in the studio. We have Matt Yates, who is, are you coach, coordinator?
I wear a number
everything.
of hats.
Yes. Tell me about your hats with Port St. Lucie United.
Part of the board. More recently, I've been designated as the general manager for the pro development program. We are which is a semi-pro soccer team here in the city.
And we're lucky enough to have two of the players here for that team too, Jonathan Quintero and Aaron Robertson. They're both here. They're going to be talking about their experiences. You're both in your mid-20s, so
yes,
this is some serious soccer we're talking.
Yeah, it's pretty competitive, yeah.
So Matt, you want to tell me a little bit about how this all got started? Is this the first year that we have a semi-pro team?
Yes, this is our inaugural season with at that level. We're participating in the United Premier Soccer League, commonly known as UPSL. They've got 300 to 400 teams throughout the nation. We're in the Palm Beach division here in South Florida. It was, as a club, we're always looking for ways to improve and expand our services to the community. And one of the components that was missing was, what happens to these kids after high school if they're not picked up by college, if they don't get a pro contract, if they just kind of fade away, and we didn't want to see that talent wasted. So we wanted to provide an opportunity, a stepping stone, if you will, as a pathway to the next level, whether they're coming out of high school and looking to get into a college, or to obtain a pro contract. Some of these guys have already used their college eligibility. This is an opportunity for them to come back and get a chance to be seen by some pro scouts and possibly make it to that level.
And both of these young men that are with you today, John and Aaron, are both products actually of Port St. Lucie and Mako Soccer. Let's get a little bit of history background to begin with, talking about the youth soccer program in Port St. Lucie, because in the past there were two programs. There was the Port St. Lucie soccer program and the Port St. Lucie Mako soccer program, and then they combined to be Port St. Lucie United.
Yeah, correct. For a long time, going back into the 90s, those were the two clubs, Mako and PSL Hurricanes. We tried to do a collaboration a couple of seasons back where we joined forces from the competitive standpoint. So we had so that's where PSL United came from. That was Mako and PSL Hurricanes together. It didn't quite work out, so we went our separate ways. But we elected to keep PSL United, and that became the competitive program of the Mako organization. So Mako handles the recreational component, and PSL United handles our competitive angle. I believe both of you guys, you were here for Mako?
Yeah. I grew up playing for Mako since 2000. I grew up playing for Mako since like 2000 and I don't even know, 2001 maybe. So I was young at the competitive level, and him as well. He was a year younger than me, so he played for the younger age group. But he also played tournaments. He played an age group up, so we grew up playing for the competitive side of back then Mako, which is now PSL United.
And once you've started playing soccer, it's kind of a contagion. It's like you can't stop. You can't get enough.
Yeah, it's a passion. I'm from South America. I'm Colombian. He's from Scotland and Canada, so it's in our blood. Soccer is the only sport that we know, and it's more than a game for us. So that's why we're addicted to it, you could say.
Well, the Mako training that you received over the years, gave you the leg up, you could say. And I know, Aaron, you played college soccer as well. You played up in Pennsylvania?
Yes, yeah, I played for Slippery Rock University.
And then you came back down here, and, you know, here you are, highly trained, and you've been playing soccer all your life, and then you kind of, before the semi-pro type option came up, you had a situation where, you know, you could either play recreational co-ed soccer, or, you know, it was hard to get a really competitive game going, right?
Yeah, when I came back from college, there was nowhere to play. You had men's league on Sunday, and that's not a very competitive level. And aside from that, there was nothing. I got a job and hung up the boots. Yeah, we did play a year in what was it, the CSL?
NPSL. We played NPSL for a season over in Tampa. We were committing driving to Tampa 3 to 4 times a week to play games and practice because there was nothing in this area like this. So we just wanted to play at a higher level. So when he came back from college, and I believe it was when I got back from England, we both were committing going to Tampa, 3-hour drives every day for practice.
It was 4 times a week, I think we were there. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You talk about a commitment to soccer.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting when you're spending the time on the field and the games.
That's a lot of driving.
A lot. Hurt our pockets.
So Matt, when the league first started, how did you do all your recruiting from within?
All of our players are local. They're local boys. Many of the other minor league or semi-pro teams, a lot of those guys recruit kids, players from all over the country, even internationally. We're proud to say that all of our boys are here locally. But what we did was we recruited simply by advertising tryout sessions. We started, November maybe?
Yeah, it was a while back.
November of last year, which was well in advance of the current season we're playing in. And over the course of 2 or 3 months, we had a pretty solid foundation of local talent that we felt comfortable with bringing into a semi-pro environment.
And as far as the recruiting goes, did you pretty much take a lot of the people who came forward, or was it a competitive field?
Oh, it was very competitive. We had several dozen guys coming out for tryouts, and
still people knocking on the door.
We still have people asking if there's room. Our current roster has, I believe we have 18 or 20 guys on our roster. You know, if you can come out, you can hang with the players. We'll take a look at you, but you know, not everybody makes it. It's a commitment. It's a very high level of play. These guys can attest to that.
Yeah.
And you know, you're already most of the way through your first season, or halfway through, is it?
We're
over half.
Over half.
We're wrapping it up. We have 3 games left. We have our next to last home game is this weekend, Saturday, the 10th, I believe.
And that's an evening game.
It's an evening game.
So this show is going to be running at 1 o'clock, also on Saturday. So that means tonight. You know, you can come out and where you're playing the games.
Tonight, come out to South County Regional Stadium. It's next to Met Stadium on University Boulevard in Port St. Lucie. That's our home field. We have one away game the following weekend, and then we're back home for our season finale. Let's see, it's the following Saturday, the what is that? The 18th, I believe. 7 o'clock versus the Flames. The one tonight is going to we'll face the Florida Wolves.
The Wolves.
And when I started talking, we came out to the game a couple weeks ago, the home game, and when I started talking to a couple friends about coming out to the soccer game, there were a lot of people that were surprised that we had a semi-pro team, but you know, it being the first season, it's kind of hard to get the word out. This is high-level soccer. This is the kind of stuff that people enjoy watching the competitive level. And the game that I went to, of course, y'all won, so that was a plus. How's your record going?
At the moment, we're sitting top of the table. We've had some ups, some downs, a couple losses that could have been won. I would say just lack of focus in those games. It's our first season. We're still getting to know each other. So there's certain things that have been letting us down in a couple games. But I'm looking at the positives. We're top of the table. We've been winning our games. We're scoring most of the chances that we get. We're a solid team. I'd say for our first season, I'm impressed for what we're doing. I think everybody's impressed for being first team around, and we're dominating My Cujo TV with the views. I mean, we've broken records with them. Games we're winning. We're top of the table, like I said, and a couple losses, but most are wins. I think it's very good how we're moving forward so far.
Let's talk about that too. If people can't make it out to South County Stadium, they can actually watch you on their computer or cast it.
The games are live streamed through a company, I believe they're called My Cujo TV, and they live stream all the games that are in the UPSL. And I think this past game was the only game that we were not the most viewed games throughout the entire country.
We were second.
We were not the most viewed just on this week, and that's okay because that's actually one of the games we lost, so I'm not too mad about that.
Why do you think that is? Because you have a lot of fans?
I just think we have a lot. We have, even though we're all local, we do have a lot of foreign players, a lot of Jamaicans, a lot of Hispanics, and a lot of people just from out of the country, and we spread the word. We have a couple guys on our team who are pretty big on social media, and they post the links right on Instagram, and they say swipe up to watch the game, and it happens. So I think that's another big plus as to why we're breaking these records for the UPSL, but I mean, it's a big plus to get views if you can't attend.
I think we're making a statement too because we're first year in the league and we're winning a lot of games, and people want to see us play. You know, who is PSL United?
Mm-hmm.
So what does the future hold? I mean, is it possible that, if you had so many people who came out, that maybe that you're going to have a B team next year, or just continue and just get better with your A game?
That would probably be something the coaches could answer, but as far as a B team,
you're rolling your eyes.
As far as a B team, I don't think that'd be probably a stretch. I think we'd have to focus on our first team. The sky's the limit with this. If we keep getting fans, if people keep coming out and we get the community support that we need, I think we can push this to go from semi-pro to professional, and hopefully like a 5-year plan. Of course, there'd have to be bigger things that come into play as far as moving to that level, but anything's possible. We have so much talent in this area that anything is possible. We get players out of here that are just unbelievable, that things happen here. It's a special place, and if we could just get that community support, I think anything's possible with this team.
Well, I know you and Aaron have played together before, and you've known each other since probably 8 and 10 years old or something like that?
I actually met Aaron when I was 14.
Yeah.
We were always around each other, but 14 is the first time we actually stepped on a field together.
Yeah.
I'm 26 now, by the way, so it's been a while.
And, John, you actually played with my friend Caroline.
Yeah.
Back in the day when the team that she was playing with, she wanted to play in a different team, so she played on the guys' team.
Yeah. So that's actually, it's funny because I don't even know if you know, but that's my girlfriend now.
Oh, yes, I know.
We've been dating for 2 years now, but
oh, yes, I know.
When I moved here from Miami, I moved back with my dad when I was 14, and I came here and I wanted to play at the competitive level. I joined this team, and they were playing in a co-ed division, which is boys and girls can play together. So she was the only girl on the team, and she was phenomenal. She was a great soccer player. She doesn't play anymore, unfortunately, but she was a great soccer player, and she was actually co-captain with me. I was captain, she was my co-captain, so that's how we met. And then she went to college, I went to college, we moved back, crossed paths, and now we're dating.
Yeah. No, and as a matter of fact, the first that I reached out to Matt was Caroline had posted a little video clip of your first game.
Oh, nice.
And so... But that's how you get the word out, is through family and friends. It's hard. In today's world, not everybody gets a newspaper, and not everybody reads even the newspaper online. So it's hard to get the word out on something new like this. And so by sharing the information, and getting the word out to people to come to the game, are you going to have new tryouts again next November, or are you just going to, fill in as needed?
Well,
are you going to make these guys try out again?
I think these guys are they're solid. They don't have anything to worry about. You know, once you have an established team, you kind of stick with that. You open up trials if you know if there's a need for some new blood. But the way the UPSL season works, there's 2 seasons each year. So there's a spring and a fall season. So these guys are going to be playing again. You know, as we wrap this season up in June, July, they'll have a little bit of a break, and then we're right back into it in the fall. But you know, we'll have an open we'll advertise an open tryout session, but we're not planning to cut any of the guys who are currently on the roster.
So when do you think the games are going to be starting again in the fall? Do you already have that schedule figured out?
There's a tentative window that's set up with the league. I believe it's kind of a September to a January time frame for the fall season.
So there may actually be some games where you get cold weather.
Well, yeah, you know, this past winter was there were a few chilly nights, so we may be faced with some of those this coming fall and winter. So we'll see what happens.
Aaron, you moved back down from the Pennsylvania area where you actually did play soccer in the cold, and you played some indoor soccer too. How has your background in soccer helped make you a better player?
For PSL United?
Yeah, all like
well, I mean,
the whole. How
I
old were you when you started playing?
I must have been 4 or 5, and it's
yeah.
a family. And, you know, you go with the family. And played my whole life, played with Mako, and same with a lot of guys on the team, like Leonard, Miguel, Justin Walker. We've all played together on a team at some point, so it helps with building a team and playing together.
Because you know how the other person plays,
you know
and how they pass. And
yeah, it's because it's difficult when a new team starts, because if everyone's a stranger. Like my first year in college, you know, you're learning everybody. You don't know anyone there. So you have to learn a new style of play, and then learn the style the coach wants to play. And you have to adapt to that. But when you have a core group of players that have all played together for years throughout their life, it makes it a lot easier.
What do you think is the most valuable advice that you receive from coaches on playing soccer? Either of you guys?
That's a tough one.
Or there may be more than one valuable thing. Get a little bit closer.
I think the biggest, I would even say life lesson that I've just taken away from soccer is just everyone has something to offer. Everyone has something to offer. It could be a rec player that can teach you something. So just be open-minded to that. As far as playing-wise skill, every coach has taught me something. I mean, from the youth level to my latest coach, Coach Butler, they've all given me something that I've taken in. It's helped basically have me grow as a player. But every coach has something. That's a tough question to answer.
One thing I think about is it wasn't a coach. I believe it was Steven Gerrard, a professional soccer player, who said it. And he said you have to be obsessed with being the best every day in training and in your games. And you live by that mentality, you'll get better.
Do you think that there's ever a time where too much competition is not a good thing? Does it change the way you act in your everyday life?
That comes down to mental toughness. Because if you're in an environment that's not demanding from you, you're not going to get better. And this is a sport where every day you have to get better. So if you don't have that competitiveness, then it's just not going to be there.
Yeah,
your team will not go up.
2 or 3 players in the same position that can compete for a starting 11 spot. Because if you got no one behind you knocking on the door trying to take your spot, then you're not going to push yourself to be better.
So you don't push yourself on your own. It's got to.
But it makes it. It makes it. You know, if you're not, if the pressure's not there, then it demands a little more from you as a player.
As far as making you a better person, soccer making you a better person, do you see that it's giving you skills? What do you guys do in your real life? You said you work for a pool company, right?
No. I work for me and my dad. We own a family-owned business. It's carpet cleaning, tile cleaning, upholstery cleaning.
Okay.
But I actually just graduated out of fire school, So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I just
yeah,
finished
yeah.
fire school.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
just got all my state certs, and I just applied for Martin County. So Martin County.
Yeah.
I just applied for them. So hopefully some doors open up there. But
Well, St. Lucie County is hiring now
not
too.
Yet, not yet. They're not
they're
hiring
going
until
to.
November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would like to work there. But between Martin County, St. Lucie County, either one would be a dream. So
Yeah.
that's what I do for a living right
And
now.
and that's a real good partnership with being a skilled athlete too,
Mhm.
is because you really have to push yourself to be in shape for that sort of thing too. Aaron, how about you?
It's and it's the team mentality as well that helps from, because you learn from the people around you. So you learn, especially from your captain in college. I learned a lot from him on how to lead and how to be, a leader in life more than just on the field. Right now, I'm working as a valet at Harbor Ridge Yacht Club, and I'm working on my master's in criminology.
What do you plan on doing with it?
I've put in an application to the FBI.
Yeah,
So hopefully that
awesome.
works
Yeah,
out,
and
yes.
it's a really good skill combination too, because they're going to look at your background and your involvement with sports and see somebody who is willing to push himself
That's
with
what-
whatever he does.
Anyone hiring looks for
Yeah.
someone who can work together, work on a team, and athletic ability helps with other certain jobs. So yeah.
Yeah, and with both the positions that you all are aspiring to, you have to keep your noses clean, and that reflects on being a better athlete too.
Oh yeah.
That's things that growing up. I mean, when Jonathan and I were growing up at Mako, when we had a night with nothing to do, and we would go to the fields and hang out.
Yeah.
That's where we would hang out growing up.
That was the spot.
Every day
Yeah.
of the week, yeah. Instead of going out and getting into whatever
It's great to hear their perspective from that, because as we're also involved, or me personally, we're also involved very heavily with the youth component of our competitive group, and we want to create these athletes that can contribute to the game and go out there and entertain people and give them something fun to watch. But at the same time, bigger picture, we want these guys, if they make it, or even if they don't make it to that level, we want them to be able to contribute to society. And these two guys are great examples of that philosophy coming through our program.
Matt, what is your background in? Have you played a lot of soccer in the past where you're? I know you have a day job too.
Yes, I do have a day job. It's completely unrelated to soccer and sports in general. But I started playing kind of late in my childhood compared to most of these kids. But I was probably in middle school or so and started to pick it up. Played in middle school and through high school and had a brief career at Virginia Tech. And I didn't go any further than that. So the next logical thing was to see how you could contribute to the sport here locally. It's rewarding to see these kids and work with them and see them advance. And so I've been coaching for several years now, and I'm old enough to be these guys' dads, but
no, really,
really. But that'll be our secret.
Yeah.
So anyway, this semi-pro deal just kind of just by coincidence, things happen for a reason, I guess, and I was in the right place at the right time to get involved with it. But really the success we've had at this level is, I think the first time it was brought up was by one of the assistant coaches, Vic Nunez, and he presented this opportunity to the club, and the club we jumped aboard.
And Vic has 6 different kids who played
Vic has
soccer?
6 kids. He's been around forever. He's a fixture in the soccer community around here. But and just as importantly, the head coach, Freddie Butler, he's a former Jamaican national. He's played all over the world. He's played in MLS. He's really been the guiding light for us because he's seen everything. He's been through all of these different levels of competition, from semi-pros to national teams to the pros. And without his experience and expertise, we'd probably be spinning our wheels right now. But he's he's been a tremendous factor in the success of this program.
What do you need from the community other than obviously to come to games? Are you looking for sponsorships, or do y'all get paid?
No.
That was a quick answer.
No, the coaching staff nor the players are compensated. So it's kind of, we're doing it for the love of the game, but again, there's a bigger picture here, and as we advance, as we continue to have success, there are opportunities for this level of competition to step up tiers to another tier and to another tier in the semi-pro realm, and then potentially pro connections. So once you start stepping up in those tiers, there are some financial incentives. But from the community, we're always looking for sponsors. We're not going to turn away a sponsor, but a big sponsor would be very helpful for this group and to allow us to continue to do the things we're doing.
To pay for extras like equipment and training.
Yeah, those are some of the surface needs, but everything we do, there's a cost associated with it.
Expenses with everything.
Expenses.
Like what? What kind of stuff are you talking about?
There's league fees. Just to participate, to register the league was $2,500.
Wow. And the league pays for the refs?
No.
Or you pay for
we
the refs?
We pay for the refs.
Okay.
We pay for the facility, South County Stadium. They've been great to work with and giving us a home field. They're through the St. Lucie County Parks Department. So they've been a tremendous help. The Treasure Coast Sports Commission has had our back. They've been helping promote us and point us in the right direction. The city of Port St. Lucie has been very supportive as well. So with all of that support, it's helpful. The dollars we make really come in from ticket sales, so we're still trying to push it and market and promote ourselves so that we can build a fan base and start filling that stadium. I believe the stadium has a 4,000 seat capacity. We haven't come close to filling that to capacity yet, but we're really hoping to get a big crowd out there this weekend to kick off Mother's Day weekend and do some fun things. We've got some giveaways and things of that nature planned for halftime, and we just got to get people out there.
And that's the thing is the way you spread the word, through social media or word of mouth and people telling other people what's out there, and knowing that there's a soccer game. It was $5 admission, right? So
yes, $5 at the gate.
Where else can you go and watch a semi-pro soccer game for $5?
Or a family of 4 for $20.
Yeah, exactly. And soccer is such a big part of kids' lives. Let's talk a little bit about the youth soccer program that you all came from, and that you probably do you go out? Do you talk to those kids at all about what they can aspire to?
They come up to us and they talk to us sometimes. I usually don't see them at the club because I've been in fire school. I literally just graduated. I haven't been able to get so involved with the rec programs or the younger youth programs to go out, but they've been asking some of the players to come out and work with the players and go to, I believe there was an event at Lawnwood to go meet these kids, and they know what's to come if they work hard. They know that basically we're at the highest level of that club to make it, and kids look up to that. They know most of us, majority of us by names now. So they do look forward to it. I know they're excited about that. So that is, they're aware of what's to come once they get to that age to play. And we do have a couple players in the team that I believe play on the U17 team. They come train with us. We just had a kid. Oh, was it Big Son who played with us?
Mark, yeah.
Mark, he jumped in. He played in last game. He did a well job. He did a really good job when he came in too. And he's a youth kid.
And Ryan.
Ryan's another one. He plays for the U18 team. He's another one. He plays in the youth team, and he's another impact player for us. He's a very good player. But the younger kids, they know what's to come if they work hard, something to look forward to.
We encourage our players to engage in the community and interact with our youth club, and it's a good way of promoting themselves as well as volunteering and committing themselves to what's going on in the community. One of the things we do before every game is we bring our younger youth teams out, and those kids act as escorts, and they walk out with the players as an opening ceremony during the national anthem and the FIFA anthem, and we include them in this process to let them go through that experience, and it's as close to the pros that we can get currently right now. So we look at this in a very professional mentality, and that's the way we promote our games and our events.
It's a little bit off the subject of soccer, but in today's world, well, not just today's world, but last 10, 15 years, a lot of professional athletes and a lot of the heroes that kids are looking up to aren't necessarily being looked up to for the right reasons. How do you gentlemen feel about that? And how are you moving to change it?
You kind of threw me off there. Can you answer it again?
So basically, I mean, there's people that little kids
are being looked up to as for the wrong reasons.
Well, they're looked up to because they're making a lot of money playing a sport, or because they're in the headlines all the time because they're beating their girlfriend or tearing up a hotel room or acting inappropriately.
It just comes down to social media. If you see it enough, it's like you get trained to see that. It's like it becomes okay in a sense. Versus, like you're saying, I think it's this new wave of generation. We're older. We didn't really have social media like that growing up. So I was raised by, I know what's right, what's wrong, which is what I see every day when I'm on my phone swiping. I think it comes down to that. What I can do to impact that is tell the parents to put the right things in your kid's head. Live every day doing the right thing. That's the only way I can see it.
You guys are pretty level-headed, so there's a lot of lead by example.
Yeah.
You're level-headed, but at the same time, the little kids think you're cool.
Yeah.
But they think you're cool for the right reasons, not because you've done something that is getting a lot of attention. I think, and it's not really just today's world. I'd say it's been happening for at least 10 years. That you have especially sports figures acting badly and getting attention for acting badly, and so people look at them and say, well, maybe it's cool to be that way.
I think that also comes down to the extent of punishment that those certain athletes get. It's not fair. Like, I made some mistakes when I was playing college soccer. On social media, I was venting, and it's something you shouldn't do, and I got punished for it in the most toughest way you could. I got expelled from that team for venting on social media versus some athletes that do actually really bad things.
Stand up in the cafeteria and curse out people.
All they do is get fines. When these famous athletes that you're talking about, they have the money to pay those fines. It's not a big deal to them, so it's not a real punishment.
And speaking of Jameis Winston, of course, I'm a University of Florida graduate, so I'm a little prejudiced anyhow. But he was an athlete that seemed to it didn't seem to matter how he acted, how he reacted, and what he did. How is that training the younger kids? If the better athlete that you are, the more leeway you get about whether you have to follow the rules or not.
I agree with that, but you're talking NCAA here. NCAA is all about their money. Jameis Winston is money. He was getting views. That's tough. It's a tough, touchy subject to touch because it's not something that we can change, and it's just going to come down to their fines and their little.
You don't think that's going to change?
I don't. If they can change it, yeah, but if it's going to dig into the NCAA's pockets, it'll never change. They are all about their money. The NCAA. I can trust me.
That's a sad.
It is
sad
it's very sad, but money makes the world go around. We both played NCAA. We know how it works. NCAA is all about their money. When it comes to athletes doing the wrong thing, if it's gonna affect the NCAA's pockets, they're gonna let it slide. They'll give you a 5 to 4 game suspension, slap on the wrist for actions that have happened. It's hard to say will it change. I don't think it ever will.
So what about in pro sports?
In pro sports, it's even worse. It's even worse in the NCAA because, like I just said, those players that have the money to pay those fines, they pay the fines, and it's not a punishment because they pay the fine. They can pay those. They can afford those fines.
I feel like especially in Europe, in the professional soccer world, though, you see a lot of the punishment affecting players. Reacts back. I mean, I'll give an example. Mario Balotelli, professional player, and he's played for 10 different teams. You know, he's 25 years old, but he's discipline issues, so he's losing, you know, the teams that want him to play because the coach doesn't want a problem player. So it kind of, you know, ruined his career was his attitude. He could have gone a lot higher. So I think you see that, and for every bad example, you see good ones too.
Mm-hmm. And you also see coach and management standing up. I think, at least in my opinion, that I see more of coaches and management standing up than a few years before. I see the trend. I hear what you're saying about NCAA and pro sports, but I see that there's hope for the future. I see that, you know, exactly what Aaron described, that the athlete that is a superb athlete, if he's always causing a problem and always getting negative headlines, and then I think they're finally seeing that any headline isn't better, that it should be something where they're setting a positive tone.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like you said, for every bad player, there's always good players. Like, example, Cristiano Ronaldo, you don't ever see him do anything bad, and he's one of the highlight people in the world. He's doing things always the right way, but he's also addressing it as, like, the coaches are taking charge. No coach wants to have that problem player, but was, like, I don't know, certain leagues taking actions on that player. I was addressing some more of the leagues handling it than so much coaches. Coaches don't want problem players. Nobody wants what we call a cancer in the team. So coaches do take charge of that. I agree with that. So stepping forward in that direction, coaches, I think, are taking the step in the right direction for that.
So it definitely would affect the recruitment. And I know
Absolutely.
Even, you know, at the Division III level, you know, the college coaches are looking at what that person brings to the table other than just their athletic ability.
Absolutely. It's always been like that. No coach definitely wants to bring in a sour apple because that'll tear apart a team.
Regardless of their talent, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when I played for Slippery Rock, we had a player, and he's probably the best player I've ever played with in my life. And in my 4 years there, I think he played 30 minutes because he was just attitude problem and causing problems. And he was an amazing player, but Coach Wood doesn't want that, so he sat him, and that was it.
It's interesting you mentioned that. We just had a meeting with the parents for the upcoming U18 team and preparing, 17 and U18s, but preparing those guys for college. Vic Nunez is our, he's our college connection. He's very well connected throughout those channels, and we had very, very frank discussions about social media and what's acceptable and what's not, and you really got to be careful about what's put out there, because the recruits nowadays they'll make friends with you, and then they follow you around a little bit. They kind of stalk you and check out what's going on the social media, and if it's not up to their standards, you've potentially lost a scholarship. And
at the same time, jobs like the fire districts and the FBI,
they watch everything. You're always being watched, and at every, for instance, like people who play for professional NCAA teams or work for a fire department or for the FBI, teachers, you're held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
So if you are putting things on social media that really shouldn't be out there, you're gonna be turned away. That's just the truth.
I don't know about at your school, but I know at Slippery Rock we had someone whose job was to monitor social media of the athletes. So we had to fill out a form with all our social media, and he would monitor it, make sure we weren't posting anything, and he did that for all the sports teams for the school.
Wow. That would be an interesting job, especially when you found something that was questionable and you got to report it. The other thing that I think makes most athletes more available to the good rather than the bad is the fact that doing drugs and drinking a lot and staying up late and partying, it's harder to be a superb athlete if you're not treating your body right.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't. You have to pick one or the other. You can't. My freshman year of college was probably the only time that I probably drank a little bit, but I'm not a big drinker. Definitely don't do drugs. But I was never really a big drinker. My freshman year, because it was my freshman year, I kind of wanted to have fun, but it doesn't mix well with being an athlete. You can't do that. You have to pick one or the other because you have to treat your body right if you want to perform right. So
I see a lot of people stop playing because of it.
Yeah.
They party too much and
They
do it
couldn't deal
anymore.
with it.
Yeah, they can't do it anymore.
How often do you practice now? Do you practice every day?
3 times a week.
So
If
do you
possible.
train? Do you cross train on the days that you're not at soccer practice?
When in our own time, I'll do something in the morning because I work typically at night, so I've missed a few training sessions through the year. But mornings I can do something on my own at home. But we do try and train 3 times a week, depending on the game schedule. If it's a Friday game, we won't practice Thursday night.
Jonathan?
This is my first week out of fire school, so I was training fire school, so I was working hard in
Yeah.
there every day. So
Yeah.
I was getting pretty fit, but now this is my first week where I'm not driving around the state taking tests, and I'm gonna train 3 times a week, and I've been going out early with a few of the other guys, so we're training every day as far as we can, as much as we can.
So John, you're 26, and
Yes.
Aaron, you're 24, 25?
25.
25? Is there ever a morning where you wake up where you just say, I'm tired, I'm done?
I know. I'm so. I feel like ADD that it's like the minute I get up, I have to do something. I cannot sit still. I hate being at home and doing nothing. So if I wake up, I get out of the house, I go do something. I either go fishing or I go to the fields. It's one or the other. If I'm not working, of course, but that's what I have to do. I cannot sit. I'm not a very sit still kind of person and relax. It's not in my blood.
Do you find that you eat healthier also? As far as he's shaking his head. No, your family also has a catering business,
yeah,
right?
we own Paella Grill. We do a lot of charity events here in San Luis County and Palm Beach County as well. We the Sugar Plum Run, which is one that we do in tradition.
Yes,
for
I've
San Luis.
had the
We
paella.
donate 5. I think last time we donated for 800 people. We fed 800 people on that Sugar Plum Run, which is a run for families and children who can't afford Christmas gifts on the holidays.
And actually, here's a little hint for you. It benefits WPSL Christmas Kids, the
nice.
radio station you're at
Nice,
right now.
Nice, yeah. So
Yeah.
we were involved with that. The food's delicious. Is it the healthiest? No, but I'm not the healthiest eater either. I tell you right now, I am the biggest fan of junk food. It's such a.
But it's a balance.
It's an oxymoron because it's like I've been preached my entire life, especially when you go to college, because you have all these scientists that try to get you to eat healthy and drink healthy water, a gallon of water a day, eating all the healthiest foods. But me, I'm different. I'm cut from a different slice of bread than everybody else because when I perform my best is when I eat at a Chinese buffet and I drink a Coca-Cola with it. I swear, I'm so different. My coaches would always give me crap for it because I ate so unhealthy, but I think they would always tell me it's because you've trained your body to do that. That's why you perform like that. But I've also seen people. I had teammates. My captain, when I played junior college at Eastern Florida, my captain was a health freak. And that kid, he just thought at a different level. He was always on top of everything. He was super fit. He could run forever. And all he did was drink water and eat beans. He was on a bean diet.
But
Seriously.
then you read about the people who die of a heart attack at 32 and they've eaten healthy their whole life and they're fit. So
Bad luck.
yeah. Or
It's
the
also
people who live
genetics.
till 90 and
Fortunately, you're talking to an EMT here, so I'm a little familiar with that stuff. But
okay.
It's just,
So
it's
it's
just
genetics.
Take example, my dad. My dad was, I believe he was 38 at the time, and he was super healthy, still playing soccer, and boom, just like that, he shortness of breath, pressure in his chest, went to the hospital, he had 6 pulmonary embolisms.
Wow.
It happens. It's just parts of life where it just comes down to genes.
Iker
I know
Casillas had a heart attack last week.
Yeah.
He's a professional soccer player, plays for the Spanish national team. He's currently still a professional soccer player, and he had a heart attack at 35 years old last week.
It just happens. It's
Yeah.
bad luck. It's
So
luck of the draw.
genetics.
I would
Yeah.
say genetics more,
Yeah.
and a lot of it. I mean, it could be with other stuff. There's all kinds of blood disorders that you're not aware of until things happen, But stay on top of it. It's bad luck in my opinion. You could eat healthy. You could eat unhealthy. I eat unhealthy as you can imagine, I want you to think of the junkiest food, and that's what I'm eating next when I leave from here, you know? I love junk food, but I do tell people try to eat healthy, maintain that healthy life. Stay
Make
away.
healthy choices.
Make healthy choices.
Yeah.
I'm 100% for that, you
Yes,
know? But
you're just
I
not
love
gonna
my
say-
junk food. But I tell you, I would preach to everybody, and when I have children, I'm going to make sure they eat healthy. I'm going to make sure they eat their greens. They're not going to be allowed junk food until they're old enough. you know?
Until,
But
yeah.
I agree with the whole healthy lifestyle but it's bad luck of the draw, basically, for the people who eat healthy, live that lifestyle, and still get a heart attack and things like that. It's just bad luck. It really is.
We were really heavily monitored in college. I mean, you couldn't control what we eat because a lot of us live off campus, but we would have, a lot of tests taken before and after practice. We'd have to weigh in before and after practice, and, our weight would be used to determine if we were dehydrated or we weren't eating right, and we wouldn't be allowed to play.
Yeah.
It was over like 3%, I think, yeah.
The other thing in college was, they did, other than just nutrition-wise, but they did drug test you too.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
so if it was something that you didn't get drug tested.
Not one time.
Oh.
They told us they were going to do it every month, and they just never did.
Well, my daughter, who played Division III at a small school, they got drug tested all the time. Maybe because the emphasis was less on the sports and more on academics, and so they were ready to kick them off the team if they had to. But then they also had the random tests where they just knock on somebody's door at 6 a.m. and say, "Hey,
Here's a cup.
yeah."
It
So
happens. I got it every other week. When I was playing NCAA, every other week I got tested. I was it was supposed to be at random, and I got tested every other week except for my second semester. My first semester
That's
there,
so
every
funny.
other week I got tested. I never failed. I've told you guys from the beginning.
Yeah.
I stay away from drugs.
Yeah.
It's one thing I don't condone. I hate it. But I never failed the test. But every other week, and my school particularly would drug test heavily. A lot of the players from every program athletically.
how about performance-enhancing drugs?
As far as like steroids,
I'm not sure if the tests...
they test them.
They do?
They,
I wasn't sure if they
yeah,
gave that.
NCAA test for
I know,
steroids.
I know there's a lot of weird things on the NCAA list too. I think caffeine's on there.
Yeah,
It's
caffeine.
a
You
banned
actually, you
substance.
can't drink coffee if
It's
you
a
get
banned
tested
substance,
get tested and you're drinking coffee. You could, but they were lenient on that. I think.
Yeah.
I know it's a banned substance, but it's coffee. It's caffeine. But it.
And poppy seed bagels.
Yeah.
Here's another a little bit off the subject question, because Jonathan, you played on a team that was co-ed.
Yes. When I was younger.
Is there there's a difference then in the way women play and the way men play?
Yeah, at the younger, I don't think I think co-ed gets cut off at a certain age. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but when I was playing, I think 14 was the last year that you could play, just because the intensity and the roughness gets different. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I've seen some girls that bust lace when they play.
Yeah.
I dated a girl back when I was in college, and that girl played Jency. She played rougher than any guy I've ever met in my life. She got in, but it's just a difference. It's hard to put a guy who weighs 180 pounds and is solid versus, so for the co-ed level, I think that's where sometimes things differ, just that physical aspect of it.
Well, speaking of female players, we're working to put together a women's EPSL team, pro development team. For
That was my
2020
next
as well.
question.
So we
Okay.
don't want to be biased one way or the other. We want to make sure we're extending these opportunities to males and females.
Do you think that there's as much of a calling for it, that as many girls are out there that are looking to play that type of level?
Most of the girls who are at that level are probably playing for a college right now. Guys just tend to be a little more sports oriented in general. So they're easier to find, I think. The finding enough to field a team, it could be challenging for us, but we really haven't delved into that entirely. But it's in the works, so we'll find out how difficult it'll be very shortly.
It could also be a recruitment tool for getting some of those girls that are at college back to the Treasure Coast.
Sure,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Knowing that they would be able to continue playing soccer. So any chance that Caroline's going to be back out of the soccer field?
That would be lovely, but with her knees. I don't think so. I know she had her ACL surgery, and I don't think she would come back out, even though I would love that.
A lot of people who've played a sport for a long period of time, they've been beaten up as far as their body goes. You know, you push yourself really hard.
Oh yeah.
How have you overcome injuries to keep playing at 25 and 26?
You can name an injury right now. I've had it. I've had every injury on the book. I've torn quads. I've severed hamstrings. I've broken ankles. That's what ended my career in England. I broke an ankle, shattered ankle.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it happens. How do you overcome it? It's just train hard. My injuries probably came from eating junk food and drinking a lot of water and not treating my body right. But you know, just treat your body right. As far as muscle injury, stretching, like broken bones and stuff like that, stuff that's out of your control. But everything else, injuries, just treat your body right.
Aaron, what do you say?
I've been pretty fortunate not to have too many injuries. My first year in school, I had torn my patella tendon, and I was out for 6 months. And it's a slow process, and it's difficult on the mind because I had 6 months, physical therapy and working it back, and I wasn't able to play for 6 months, and it's what I do. I want to play every day.
So, and you do get to play at least 3 days a week, and game tonight at South County Stadium for the Port St. Lucie United semi-pro team. We've been talking to Aaron and Jonathan and Matt Yates. If people want to find more information, how can they find you quickly?
Check us out at our website, www.pslunitedsc.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'd also like to point out we've got competitive tryouts coming up the week of May 28th through 31st, so more information on those social media platforms.
You can get all that information going to their website and Facebook page or checking out my information on WPSL.